The ship called Artemis drifted through the cold black of space like a wounded bird. Its engine had failed 3 days ago, and now it moved on nothing but hope and momentum. Inside, Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the cracked viewport. She had not slept in 40 hours. None of them had. "Captain," said Lieutenant Park from his station, "I'm picking up signals." "A lot of them." Vasquez turned. "What kind of signals?" "Ships, 17 of them. They're forming a circle around us." The crew of the Artemis was small. Just 12 humans on humanity's first real journey beyond their own solar system. They had trained for years. They had prepared for everything. But nothing in their training had covered this. The ships that surrounded them were enormous. Each one was different from the others. Some looked like crystals floating in the dark. Others resembled insects made of metal. One seemed to be alive, its surface pulsing like a heartbeat. Together, they blocked every possible escape route. "They're hailing us," Park said. "Put it through." The screen flickered, and then a face appeared. It was not a human face. The creature had 4 large eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its skin was a pale green color, and instead of a mouth, it had a cluster of small tendrils that moved when it spoke. The voice that came through the speakers was translated into English, but the tone was cold. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered Galactic Council space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." Vasquez looked at the alien on the screen. Then she looked at her crew. They were tired. They were scared. They were very far from home. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth vessel Artemis," she said. "We are peaceful explorers. Our engine is damaged. We mean no harm." The alien's tendrils moved in what might have been disgust. "Your intentions are not relevant. You are human. The Council will decide what to do with you." The transmission ended. Within the hour, soldiers from 3 different species had boarded the Artemis. They took the crew's weapons. They scanned their bodies with devices that hummed and clicked. They treated the humans like prisoners, even though no crime had been committed. The holding cells on the Council station were clean but cold. Vasquez sat with her back against the wall and counted the hours. Private Santiago paced back and forth. Dr. Chun tried to keep everyone calm. Lieutenant Park simply stared at the ceiling and wondered if they would ever see Earth again. On the 3rd day, they were taken to a great chamber. It was the largest room any of them had ever seen. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadow. Hundreds of aliens filled the seats that rose in tiers around a central platform. Every species imaginable seemed to be present. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no solid form at all, just clouds of gas that shifted and swirled. At the center of the platform sat a council of 12 beings. They were the leaders of the Galactic Council, the government that ruled over thousands of worlds across the galaxy. The humans were brought before them like criminals before a judge. The alien who had first contacted them spoke. Her name, the humans would later learn, was Ambassador Keth Era of the Veluxi Consortium. Her 4 compound eyes studied the humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. "The Council has reviewed the data collected on your species," she said. "We have studied your history, your biology, your behavior. We have come to discuss what is to be done with you." Vasquez stepped forward. "We're explorers. We came in peace. We would be happy to silence." Silence. The word cut through the chamber like a knife. "You do not yet understand your position. You are not guests. You are subjects of evaluation." Another council member spoke. This one was called Counselor Morvex. His body was covered in bioluminescent patches that glowed different colors as he talked. "Let us begin with your biology. Humans are classified as Class 7 apex persistence predators. You can survive the loss of limbs. You can regenerate damaged tissue. You consume the flesh of other beings. You poison yourselves with chemicals and call it medicine. You expose your skin to your star's radiation for entertainment. A murmur passed through the chamber. Many aliens shifted uncomfortably. Furthermore, Morvex continued, you have domesticated apex predators. You keep them in your homes. You allow them near your offspring. Santiago opened his mouth to defend his dog, but Vasquez silenced him with a look. Your psychology is equally disturbing, said a third council member, a crystalline being whose voice sounded like breaking glass. You practice something called war, where you kill each other by the millions. You have developed weapons capable of destroying your entire planet, and then you deployed them on yourselves. You write songs about death. You create art about suffering. You find entertainment in watching other humans experience pain. The list went on. Caffeine was toxic. Spicy food was a chemical weapon. Running for pleasure was a sign of mental instability. The concept of horror movies was so alien that 3 council members had to leave the chamber to recover. When the litany finally ended, Vasquez stood in the silence that followed. Every eye in the chamber was on her. Every being expected her to beg for mercy, to apologize for her species' existence. Instead, she raised her hand politely. I'm sorry, she said, but I'm a little confused. Is this a trial or a welcome party? Because honestly, I can't tell. The translator struggled with the concept of sarcasm. Half the chamber had no idea what she meant. The other half was horrified that a creature facing judgment would dare to joke. Kefira's tendrils trembled. You do not understand the gravity of your situation. Vasquez shrugged. I understand fine. You're scared of us. The question I'm trying to figure out is why. The council decided that a demonstration was necessary. They needed to understand exactly what humans were capable of before they could make a final decision. The humans were taken to a testing facility deep within the station, where scientists from dozens of species waited to observe them. The first test was simple. The council wanted to see how humans reacted to stress. They placed Lieutenant Park in a room with walls that slowly closed in on him. Most species, they explained, would panic and freeze. Some would attempt to bargain. A few would become violent. Park looked at the walls moving toward him. He took a deep breath. Then he sat down on the floor and closed his eyes. The scientists watched in confusion. What is he doing? One asked. He appears to be. Breathing slowly, another replied. Is this a defensive mechanism? Unknown. Increase the speed. The walls moved faster. Park opened his eyes, looked around calmly, and then stood up. He examined the walls carefully. He found a small gap near the ceiling where the panels did not quite meet. Without hesitation, he jumped, grabbed the edge, and pulled himself up. The panels crushed together beneath him, but he was already climbing through the gap into the maintenance tunnel above. When the guards found him, he was sitting in the tunnel, eating a ration bar he had hidden in his boot. Sorry, he said with a smile. Got hungry? The second test involved pain tolerance. Dr. Yith, a surgeon made of living crystal, was assigned to examine the humans physically. She started with routine scans, but what she found made her processors nearly overheat. This one, she said, pointing at Private Santiago, has evidence of 17 healed bone fractures. This one has scar tissue from chemical burns. This one appears to have had organs removed and replaced with synthetic alternatives. She turned to the humans. How are you still functional? Santiago shrugged. Broken bones heal. Burns fade. And the synthetic kidney works better than the original one, to be honest. But the pain, Yith pressed. The trauma to your systems must be immense. You get used to it. Yith turned to her colleagues with what could only be described as terror in her crystalline eyes. They adapt to pain. They normalize it. The third test was meant to assess human aggression. The council placed the humans in a room with a hostile creature called a Scrath, a beast known throughout the galaxy for its violence. The Scrath was the size of a large dog, with 6 legs and a mouthful of teeth, designed for tearing flesh. The humans were not given weapons. The council expected them to flee or surrender. Instead, Vasquez stepped forward and stared at the creature. The Scrath growled. Vasquez did not move. The Scrath took a step toward her. Still, she did not move. "Easy," she said softly. "Easy now." The Scrath hesitated. It had never encountered prey that did not run. It did not know how to respond to a creature that showed no fear. Slowly, its growl faded. Its posture changed. After several long minutes, it lay down on the floor and closed its eyes. What happened? Kithira demanded from the observation room. Why did it stop? Dr. Chun, who had been watching quietly, spoke up. She established dominance without violence. The creature recognized her as an alpha and submitted. But that's impossible. The Scrath is one of the most aggressive species in the quadrant. "We domesticated wolves," Chun said simply. "This is not so different." The test continued for 3 days. Each one revealed something new and terrible about humanity. They learned that humans could survive extreme temperatures that would kill most species. They learned that humans could go without sleep for days when necessary, functioning on a substance called caffeine that was lethal to 60% of known life forms. They learned that humans formed intense emotional bonds with other creatures, including creatures that had no intelligence at all. But the moment that truly shattered the Council's understanding came during a cultural exchange session. The humans were asked to share something from their home world. Santiago, eager to make friends, pulled out his personal device and showed pictures of his pet dog. "This is Max," he said proudly. "He's a German shepherd. I've had him since he was a puppy. He sleeps at the foot of my bed every night." The translation software identified the creature as a descendant of Canis lupus, an apex predator known for hunting in packs and bringing down prey many times its size. Several species in the chamber had lost colonies to wolf-like creatures in their distant past. The trauma was still fresh in their genetic memory. A Veluxy delegate fainted. 2 Morvex delegates began emitting distress pheromones so strong that the room had to be evacuated. One crystalline being cracked down the middle from sheer stress. "He's a good boy," Santiago said helplessly as guards rushed him out of the room. "He knows tricks. He can shake hands." Later, in the holding cell, the humans tried to make sense of what had happened. "They think we're monsters," Park said quietly. "We're not monsters," Vasquez replied. "We're just human. Is there a difference?" Dr. Chun asked. "To them, maybe not. Everything about us terrifies them. Our persistence, our adaptability, our tolerance for pain. The things we consider normal are nightmares to them." Santiago stared at his picture of Max. "I just wanted to show them something I loved." Vasquez put a hand on his shoulder. "I know, but love isn't enough. We need to make them understand that we're not their enemy." "How?" Park asked. Vasquez had no answer. For the first time in her career, she had no idea what to do next. The vote happened on the 5th day. The humans were not allowed to attend, but they heard the result through the walls of their cell. The council had decided unanimously. Earth would be quarantined. Humanity would be contained within its own solar system. No trade, no contact, no travel. The Artemis would be impounded, and its crew would be sent back home with a warning. "You will tell your people," Kethira said when she delivered the verdict, "that the galaxy is not ready for you. Perhaps in 1,000 years, you will have evolved beyond your violent nature. Until then, you are alone." Vasquez stood in silence for a long moment. Then she spoke. What did we do? Kathira's tendrils twitched. I do not understand the question. What crime did we commit? We came here by accident. We asked for help. We answered your questions. We played by your rules. So what exactly did we do wrong? You exist, Kathira said. That is crime enough. The humans were escorted back to the Artemis. Guards watched their every move. The ship was surrounded at all times by armed vessels. The council expected them to accept their fate quietly and leave. They did not understand humans at all. We can fix the engine, Park said on the first night. I've been studying the damage. It's bad, but it's not impossible. With what? Chun asked. They took everything. Our tools, our spare parts, our supplies. Not everything. Park pulled a small device from his sock. They didn't check thoroughly enough. And the station is full of materials. I've seen them. Different alloys, different composites. Some of it would work. Vasquez looked at her crew. They were tired. They were scared. They had every reason to give up. But there was something else in their eyes now. Something that looked very much like defiance. How long? She asked. 3 days. Maybe less if we don't sleep. We've done without sleep before. True. And caffeine? Park smiled. I hid a bag of coffee grounds in my other sock. The next 3 days were a blur of activity. The humans worked around the clock, scavenging materials from every source they could find. They traded with sympathetic aliens who had snuck them supplies out of curiosity or pity. They improvised tools from objects never designed for that purpose. They solved problems that should have been unsolvable. Councilor Morvex watched from a safe distance. What are they doing? He asked a subordinate. Working, sir. For how long? 47 hours straight, sir. They have not stopped to rest. Morvex's bioluminescent patches flickered with confusion. That is impossible. No species can function that long without rest. Apparently humans can, sir. They are consuming a liquid called coffee. It seems to give them energy. Coffee is a toxin. It would kill a Morvex in minutes. Yes, sir. They seem to enjoy it. On the third day, the engine hummed to life. It was not a smooth hum. It sputtered and coughed and made sounds that no healthy engine should make. But it worked. Against all odds, the humans had fixed their ship. Vasquez sat in the captain's chair and looked at her crew. They were exhausted, covered in grease and sweat, running on nothing but caffeine and willpower. They had never looked more beautiful to her. Plot a course for Earth, she said. Yes, Captain. The Artemis moved slowly at first, then faster. The council ships made no move to stop them. Perhaps they were too surprised. Perhaps they were relieved to see the humans go. Or perhaps, deep down, they were just a little bit impressed. As the station grew smaller in the viewport, Vasquez allowed herself one moment of bitter reflection. They had come so far, dreamed so big, and in the end, they were being sent home like misbehaving children. The galaxy did not want them. The galaxy was afraid. Captain, Park said quietly, I'm picking up a transmission. It's not directed at us, but you might want to hear this. Vasquez nodded. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was Kathira's, speaking to the council in what she thought was a private channel. The humans are gone, she said. The quarantine is in place. But I must confess, I am troubled. I have studied many species in my career. I have seen empires rise and fall. But I have never encountered anything like them. They should have broken. They should have despaired. Instead, they fixed their ship with scraps and left on their own terms. I do not understand them. And what I do not understand, I fear. Vasquez turned off the transmission. She stared at the stars ahead, the vast unknown that no human had ever crossed. Sir? Santiago asked. What do we do now? Vasquez thought for a long moment. Then she smiled. "We go home," she said, "and we tell them everything. The galaxy doesn't want us? Fine, but they don't get to forget us. One day, they'll need our help. And when that day comes, we'll be ready." 6 months passed on Earth. The story of the Artemis spread across every news channel and social media platform on the planet. People were angry. People were proud. People were scared. The galaxy had rejected them, called them monsters, and sent them away. For most species, that would have been the end. But humans were not most species. In those 6 months, Earth built a fleet. Not a fleet for war, though every ship carried weapons. Not a fleet for conquest, though every crew was trained for combat. It was a fleet for readiness. Whatever came next, humanity would not be caught unprepared again. And then, on a cold morning in December, the signals came. They came from everywhere at once. Emergency transmissions flooded every frequency. Distress calls in 100 different languages. The Council was under attack. The Vrethki swarm had emerged from the dark regions of space where no sane species dared to go. They were a nightmare given form. Billions of chitinous bodies moving as one, consuming everything in their path. Planets fell in days. Fleets were overwhelmed in hours. The Council's defenses, so carefully maintained for millennia, crumbled like paper. Councilor Morvex sent the message himself. His bioluminescent patches were dim with shame as he spoke. "To the people of Earth, we know we have no right to ask. We know how we treated you. But we are dying. The Vrethki cannot be stopped. If there is any mercy in your species, any compassion at all, we beg you, help us." The response from Earth came within the hour. It was brief. It was unsigned. It simply said, "We're on our way." The human fleet arrived 3 weeks later. 47 ships of various sizes, crewed by volunteers who had signed up, knowing they might never come home. Admiral Elena Vasquez commanded from the bridge of the flagship, a vessel called the Defiance. The Council watched the human ships approach with a mixture of hope and terror. These were the creatures they had feared. These were the monsters they had rejected. And now, these were the only ones who had answered their call. "Admiral Vasquez," Kethira transmitted, her voice shaking. "We are grateful beyond words. How can we assist you?" Vasquez looked at the tactical display. The Vrethki swarm was massive, a cloud of death that blotted out the stars. Any sane species would have run. "Stay out of our way," she said, "and watch." The battle that followed would be studied for centuries. Military academies across the galaxy would teach it. Historians would write books about it. But no analysis could ever capture what it felt like to be there, to watch humanity fight. The Vrethki were fast. Humans were faster. The Vrethki adapted quickly. Humans adapted quicker. When the swarm tried to overwhelm the human ships with numbers, the humans broke into smaller groups and struck from every angle. When the Vrethki tried to concentrate their forces, the humans scattered and regrouped somewhere else. When the Vrethki tried to retreat, the humans chased them. "They're not stopping," Morvex whispered, watching from the council chamber. "They should be exhausted. They should be broken. Why won't they stop?" "Because they never do," Kethira replied. "That is what makes them terrifying. That is what makes them human." The turning point came on the 7th day of battle. A Vrethki hive ship, the largest ever recorded, had broken through the human lines and was heading for the council station. It was the end. Everyone knew it. The station's defenses were gone. There was nothing left. Nothing except one damaged human cruiser with a skeleton crew and a captain named Marcus Cole. Cole's ship was barely functional. It had lost half its weapons and most of its engines. By any rational calculation, he should have fled. Instead, he turned toward the hive ship and accelerated. "All hands," he announced over the intercom. "This is the captain. I'm not going to pretend we're all going to survive this. But I'm also not going to let that thing reach the station. For my crew, for Earth, for every species in this galaxy that deserves a chance to live, we're going in. It's been an honor serving with you." He activated the ship's broadcast system so that everyone, human and alien alike, could hear what came next. A song began to play. It was old Earth music, loud and defiant, with driving guitars and a singer who sounded like he was laughing at death. "Highway to Hell," the humans called it. The council had no translation for the words, but they understood the meaning perfectly. Cole's cruiser struck the hive ship's core at full speed. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. The Vrethki swarm broke. Without the hive ship's coordination, they scattered into chaos. The human fleet pursued them into the void, destroying every last one. By the time the sun rose on the council station, the war was over. Admiral Vasquez stood before the council 1 week later. The same chamber that had condemned her species now welcomed her as a hero. Every seat was filled. Every eye was on her. Kathira spoke first. "Admiral, there are no words adequate to express our gratitude. You saved us. You saved everyone. After everything we did to you, after all of fear and rejection, you came to help us anyway." "Why?" Vasquez was silent for a moment. She thought about the crew of the Artemis. She thought about Captain Cole and his sacrifice. She thought about all the humans who had volunteered to cross the galaxy and fight for people who had called them monsters. "Because you asked," she said simply. The chamber fell silent. No one knew what to say. "We're not what you feared," Vasquez continued. "We never were. Yes, we're persistent. Yes, we're stubborn. Yes, we consume caffeine and keep predators as pets and survive things that should kill us. But that's not what defines us. What defines us is this: when someone is in trouble, we help. Even if they're strangers. Even if they've hurt us. Even if there's nothing in it for us. That's what humans do. That's who we are." Tethira's tendrils trembled. "We were so afraid of you. We saw your strength and assumed it meant you would destroy us." "I understand," Vasquez said. "Fear is natural. But so is courage. So is compassion. So is reaching out across the darkness to help someone in need." She smiled. "You called us terrifying. Maybe we are. But terror isn't the only thing we bring. We also bring hope." The council voted that day to grant humanity full membership in the galactic community. Trading rights, diplomatic relations, a permanent seat on the Security Council. The quarantine was lifted forever. Earth was no longer alone. But for Vasquez, the most meaningful moment came later, in a quiet corridor far from the crowds. Kathira approached her with slow, hesitant steps. "Admiral," she said softly, "I must apologize. I was the one who led the effort to quarantine your people. I was the one who called you monsters. I was wrong." Vasquez studied the alien's 4 compound eyes. She saw fear there, but also something else. Something that looked very much like regret. "Apology accepted," she said. "Now let's get to work. The galaxy has a lot of rebuilding to do, and I hear humans are pretty good at that too." Tethira's tendrils curled in what might have been a smile. "I am beginning to understand why your species asks why there is so much hate. You truly do not comprehend fear, do you?" Vasquez laughed. "Oh, we understand fear just fine. We feel it all the time. The difference is, we don't let it stop us." She walked away, leaving the ambassador to ponder the strangest, most terrifying, and most wonderful species the galaxy had ever known. And somewhere in the endless dark, the stars seemed just a little bit brighter.